What is up, cool cats of the interwebs? It is your girl Haley back at it again for another month of the pre-review crew. This month we are talking about the games that are coming out in October and reviewing the games from our September episode. So let me start it off. If you're new here, if you don't remember, if you don't give a shit, or maybe you do and this is your 400th time hearing this, let me introduce you to my GM fam squad of guys. I have Brennan.
Hello.
And I have Mike.
What's up?
Okay, so we're going to kick it off with last month, September, and review the games that we talked about there. So we're going to kick it off with Tales of Arise. It's a single-player action role-playing game. It's developed and published by Bandai Namco. It came out on the PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X. So basically everything besides the Switch. It released on September 10th. It has a top critic average of 88, with almost 100 critics recommending it. 99% of the critics are recommending this game at the moment.
I think this is something JRPGs needed. Normally, except for like Persona 5 and Final Fantasy, maybe Pokemon if you want to call that JRPG, they don't do that well over here. But this surprised me. It's doing incredibly well. I'm seeing a lot of praise, especially, they're saying that this game is really a good breath of fresh air for the Tales series.
I definitely wasn't. I was expecting it to be, received well, but not as well as 99% of critics recommending it. Like, that's just insane. And even on OpenCritic, it's like one of the hottest games throughout the whole year. And yeah, I picked this up day of release, and I'm almost finished with it. I like it so much that I can't bring myself to finish it. You guys ever done that with a game where you're like really close to finishing it and you're like, I don't want this to end?
I do that with a lot of like TV shows. I just won't watch the last episode, so I technically have never finished it.
That's for Golden. I didn't want to finish that.
That's literally where I'm at right now, because I'm at the last dungeon and I'm like, I just want to go back in time to like 20 hours, previously in my playthrough and just chill with the gang. Like, I know like this final dungeon's the last time I'm going to be hanging out with. And I feel like that's what the prime reason that I like this game so much is because of the interactions with all of the characters. They just feel, yeah, there's a lot of like really anime scenes where people like grunt and like make faces and stuff, but the way they talk to each other is so empathetic. I don't know, it feels like they're real people in a way, just how they're constantly asking each other how they feel about certain things and like how they're currently doing in the moment, especially after big revelations. And I don't know, it's just a really heartwarming story that, like, again, I can't bring myself to finish because I don't want to stop playing, but here I am not playing it. The combat is fast and visceral, like, and it only kind of gets better as the game goes on. I don't know, it was just really good, and I'm really happy to see how a lot of other people are enjoying it as well. 99% of critics recommending it is kind of a big deal, in my opinion, so, like,
Yeah.
it's nice to see. It's refreshing, as Mike said, and I'm not, it's not that I'm not a fan of Tales games. I've just only played Symphonia back in the day, so I really have no basis of comparison. But that being said, it really does just feel like one of the best JRPGs to have come out for me personally in a long time. And I've just enjoyed every moment of it, to be honest. Like, we know how I feel about Diablo II, and we'll talk about that in a bit, but when Diablo II released a couple of days ago, I was still just playing Rise, like, and I didn't think that was going to happen. I thought that I would just stop playing Rise and then start playing Diablo immediately after, and nope, here I am, still just chugging away at Rise, and it's just great, honestly. I have really nothing bad to say about it, other than just the story's kind of boring in the beginning. It's kind of slow, but again, that's where the character interactions really shine. It's very much a character story rather than a very plot heavy story. Everything's kind of simple up until the end, but I feel like that's par for the course for most JRPGs, but I feel like they just don't have the character interactions that most others do. Like, I don't know, I was really just comparing this to, I had a lot of flashbacks to like Dragon Quest XI, both like in terms of plot and its simplicity, and also just how well the supporting characters kind of make the whole experience what it is, you know?
Would you say
Yeah,
that this is like a good entrance for people who are new to JRPGs?
Yeah, I don't see why it wouldn't be. I mean, like, because it's Tales of Arise, for those who don't know, and it's not like a continuation of any previous Tales game, so you can just pick this one up and not have played any others and be completely fine. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely a lot faster than your basic turn-based JRPGs. So if you're not really looking into turn-based stuff, then this is definitely more visceral. And even just kind of like the plot isn't so heavy-handed. I mean, it is in the beginning because there's a lot of jargon to kind of explain, but once you get past that point, it just kind of becomes second nature. But yeah, I would definitely recommend it to people that don't normally play JRPGs but want a good character-driven story.
and that's what I was seeing in reviews is like that this is good for people who really want to get into this genre. Um, because yeah, it's from what I'm reading, it's really polished. It's good for people who love JRPGs and for people who, always kind of wondered about the genre. So I really do think if you want a good JRPG, this would probably be the one to really get your hook in.
Definitely, especially like around this time of the year when there hasn't really been too many JRPGs that have come out recently.
Yeah.
I would say this one takes the cake for sure.
Would you say that this sort of like lives up to what you expected it to be, or does it like go above and beyond that?
Well, I mean, to be completely honest with you, again, not having really been too familiar with the series previously, my expectations were, uh, I want to say I didn't really have too many expectations other than the fact that it was kind of hyped up by the fan base. Um, I would say that it very much exceeded my expectations. And again, it's just because of the character interactions. Like, there's just a lot of interesting moments, and I know I'm not really doing it any justice, but there's a lot of interesting moments, and moments that made me genuinely laugh. Like, I don't know, I feel like I don't find myself laughing at too many games nowadays just because of my jaded old age, Lamau. But yeah, it just I would say that I liked it a lot more than I thought I was going to. And that's not like a diss to the game. That's just because my own expectations were skewed from the beginning.
What about you, Mike?
I haven't, like I said, it got better reviews than I thought it was going to. I only played the demo. I haven't had the chance to get it yet. I'm gonna get it, especially after seeing like how well received it was. Because I played a few of the Tale series and I love them. So this is one that I definitely have to get in future. And a 99%, critics rating on Critic. That's like even more fuel to the fire for me to be like, yeah, I gotta pick this up.
Heard it here first. It's Mike's game of the year.
Probably.
Huh?
Gotta see.
Honestly, it's a contender.
Yeah, I gotta pick it up and see.
Yeah, heard it here first. It takes all the way to September for good games to come out for them to be game of the year picks. What happened at the beginning of the year? I don't know. This is the year of remakes, people. Everyone's still at home making games from their bathroom toilet because it's comfy and convenient.
And we're
Anyway,
talking about remakes today.
yeah, we're gonna definitely talk about some more remakes because again, we're just gonna deem 2021 the year of remakes. But for right now, let's put the remake talk on pause because we are going to talk about a brand new IP title, Lost in Random. It's a single-player action-adventure game developed by Zoink and published by EA. It came out on PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X. It released the same day as Tales of Arise on September 10th. It has a top critic average of 78, with 70% of critics recommending it. That's a little bit higher than what I thought it was going to get, but a little bit lower than what I thought as well.
These scores, this is about the reception I thought it was gonna get. It wasn't, a big, triple A title, and I think the thing I'm reading about, I'm looking at reviews right now. I think the thing about it was just because it's so different and it tried things that were new. That there were a few little pitfalls, here and there because of that.
I mean, I feel like
Yeah.
you're definitely going to get those when you do something different. It's not going to be everyone's cup of tea. I still really love this art style though.
Oh yeah, that style was amazing.
Yeah, a lot of people have been quick to make comparisons to Tim Burton, to oh, I forget the name. Someone, I'm gonna look it up really quick, but someone made comparisons to, was it American McGee's early Alice games? Yeah, American
Yeah.
McGee's. Like, yeah, that was, I watched my cousin play that as a kid, and my goodness, I should not have done that. Um, but yeah, I mean, going back to the scores, yeah, I feel like this was kind of par for the course. I've been seeing a lot of 7s and 8s out of 10, if we're going to boil it down to that simplistic of a view. Um, and I mean, a lot of people are quick to say how the experience is new and exciting and the art style is fantastic. But I've read that a couple of people aren't really a fan of just the complete randomness to the combat, which, yeah, I mean, that's again par for the course. I mean, randomness is kind of inherently frustrating at points, right? Like, you could roll a 1, you could roll a 6. That's always going to happen. But I just keep reading, you're either gonna like it or not like it as much. So it's kind of a toss up. But it seems that the world building and the characters and the world itself is just such an interesting concept in and of itself that it's pretty good, but it's probably not perfect. Which, yeah, I mean, it's fine. It's not a bad thing.
I mean, it was definitely a new sort of, I don't want to say like a new combat style, but the whole dice thing is a little bit new in video games. So I feel like I can completely understand that not being everyone's cup of tea, but at the same exact time, like it's called random. It's gonna be random. What are you expecting when you roll a
Yeah,
dice?
but I mean, I don't know, I can see that in terms of the combat though, like, it's similar to playing D&D at points where, like, you could be absolutely stacked, right, stat wise, and you can have you're at a pivotal moment in whatever it is that you're doing, and you just roll a 1, and it just completely deflates any amount of motivation you had to keep going because you're like, well, shit, I just did the absolute worst roll, and I'm gonna get the worst outcome. Like, I can see it, like, I don't know, if you're playing a boss battle or a particularly hard section and you end up, making a roll that you didn't mean to, then that's just kind of shit.
Yeah, I completely get that. But like I feel like I'm just 50-50 on it because uh, in other games where they're actually like combat related where you're going up again, like Assassin's Creed for example, like that combat that is more so depending on how you attack and how you dodge. And so I can understand people being like, I prefer that instead of this because this is completely random. You can't, I guess, like pick your fate, if that makes sense. Like in Assassin's Creed, it's like I'm attacking another person. I can dodge. I have that ability to dodge. But in this, when you're rolling a dice, it's like you don't have that ability. You have to just leave it up to whatever the computer picks, basically.
Yeah, and that's pretty much exactly what I'm pretty much summed up what I was going for very well.
Mm.
So, like, eh, eh. I get it. I
I
get
don't know.
it.
This is like, I mean, if you're looking for something really, really different, maybe, this could appeal to you. You just have to go in with the mind that it does have a lot of RNG. Um, because like Haley said, that art style is just amazing. I love Tim Burton. So, that's kind of a draw for me. It's just, it looks interesting to me. It's just at the same time, I was like, I don't know if I could play a game where everything's completely random.
I feel like that's going to be the one thing that probably keep a lot of people away from this game is that they don't want to sit there and have to deal with that all the time. But at the same exact time, like if you think that's something that you can get through, then I highly suggest picking this game up just for the art style, just for the world building and the story, because it's gorgeous. So I mean, you might have to suffer a little bit, but it might be worth it in the end.
Yeah.
So I'm very curious to see if they create a second game within this world or within like the same art style. And if they do, if they take everything that they learned from the first game and improve the combat in some sort of way. So we'll just have to wait and see. And on to the last game that came out for the month of September. We are kicking it back to another remake. We're talking about Diablo II Resurrected. It's a multiplayer action role-playing game developed by Vicarious Visions and published by Blizzard. It came out on the Switch, PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X. It released on September 23rd with a top critic average of 80 and only 81% of critics recommending it. What was this lacking?
So, I
Go
don't.
ahead.
No, you go, Mike.
I was about to say, from what I've seen, people are saying it's incredibly faithful to the old Diablo 2, and that's the problem. Because it's kind of hard for people who didn't play this game 20 years ago. I'm exaggerating. I don't remember when this game came out. Who didn't play this game back then? Like, this is kind of hard to get into nowadays.
Yeah, like people are saying that it's like faithful to a fault almost, and we've seen this before in other remasters more so than remakes, where especially like we talked about that one game, Medieval. We talked about Medieval a couple of months ago, and it's the same thing that I was reading up on the Demon Souls PS5 remaster, where they make everything look just absolutely beautiful compared to what it was before, right? And yet there's still the annoying parts of the game that are left untouched. In Diablo's case, in most games nowadays, you don't have like a running meter. I don't know how to explain this without like showing it, but there's a meter that will go down the more you run, and when you run out of it,
Stamina bar?
yeah, yeah, but then you have to walk instead of run. So like, and then you have to sit there and wait for it to come back up. The inventory spacing is kind of small. Like you have to end up playing inventory Tetris a lot more than people probably remember. And there's just some old weird shit in the game that people are like, this shouldn't really be in here anymore. But so a lot of people kind of wanted more out of it, but I feel like, at least for me personally, it pretty much lived up to my expectations. Like, I just wanted Diablo 2 with a fresh coat of paint, with all of its old shit intact. And, like, that's what I feel like people were asking for with something like WoW Classic, where Blizzard was telling their fan base for years, like, no, you don't want WoW Classic. Like, you guys don't remember how shit it was. And they're not entirely wrong. They're wrong in telling the consumer what they want versus what they don't want. But there are some really annoying factors in the original game that we kind of just gloss over with nostalgia goggles. But then when we're faced with it again, we're like, oh my god, the stamina meter. I forgot all about this piece of shit. I hate this. And yeah, I mean, it's faithful to a fault, and some people won't necessarily like that. They'll wish that it was more like Diablo 3 because that's all they've known for the past 10 years. But here I am just enjoying it for what it is. I really just wanted Diablo 2 with a fresh coat of paint. All faults and imperfections included. Like, that's kind of what made it the experience that it was and still is. I don't think that this is going to be as popular as something like Diablo 3. At least, now for what this is. Obviously, I feel like Diablo 2 was fairly popular when it came out, but I don't think that people are going to be, going back to LAN parties, anytime soon with this. But that being said, the people like me that just wanted the fresh coat of paint are sufficiently happy with it and didn't really want any more. My whole thing is just, I'm glad they didn't fuck it up like Warcraft Reforged. I'm just really glad that it does exactly what it's supposed to do and nothing more, nothing less, because we've seen Blizzard these past couple months and these past years, and it's just, an absolute headache to talk about this company that we all used to love like 10 years ago, and now we're like, oh my god, can you please stop shooting yourselves in the foot? So, does this win any points for them? Not necessarily, but it doesn't detract from anything for me personally.
Would you say if Blizzard went in and fixed all those small things that everyone wishes that they would have fixed way back when, do you think this would attract new people who haven't played Diablo 2 before?
I mean,
I mean,
I think it could attract some new players. It's just you got to remember how old school Diablo 2 was in the first place, or is now in the first place.
yeah,
Because like Brennan's saying, that there's like stuff from back then that now just doesn't work. So them revamping this game to be more appealing to new players, that it wouldn't be just a remaster. I mean, they'd have to probably do a full-on remake of the game.
yeah, agreed. I don't know. I mean, you would end up if I just feel like if you did make any changes to it, you would piss off pretty much everyone that had played it in the past. And like if they did, I don't know. It's like I wish that the stamina bar wasn't there? Yeah, kind of. It's a really outdated mechanic, and it shows. But if they got rid of it, then it wouldn't necessarily be Diablo 2. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of
Right.
those weird things where I'm like, if they took anything away from it, it wouldn't be what it is and what it was. And so, I don't know. I'm not, again, I'm not really, I don't think that this is necessarily meant to bring back I guess it was meant to bring back good faith within the community because it's sorely been lacking over the past couple of years. Um, or some sort of bridge between Diablo 3 and Diablo 4. But I'm not seeing a massive amount of people flocking to this. Even like there was some of my the group of my in my group of friends, there were a couple of people that picked this up that had never even touched the original. And I was kind of taken back by that. I was like, why? And they're like, oh, it's just the new thing. And I'm like, well, that's cool, but at the same time, it's kind of weird because you guys don't really know what you signed yourself up for, do you? Like, I don't know if you really understand what this game is or was, and I feel like that could end up having people be like they buy this game and they're like, oh my god, it's shit. Why did people like this 20 years ago? But it's really hard to tap into that 20-year-old nostalgia at this point.
So, another question. Do you think they waited too long to remake this or
I think
remaster it?
so. I think so because you got so many other dungeon crawlers like this coming out now that are just better. Like they're these new dungeon crawlers are making the improvements that needed to be made off of Diablo 2. They're changing the game up with new mechanics, new ways of playing. So Diablo 2 just kind of without change since they didn't change too much, it'll just feel outdated to those who are already used to the games that have followed Diablo 2 instead.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like Path of Exile was considered to be what Diablo 3 should have been for like the longest time. And I just I don't know. I would have liked this, maybe 10 years ago. I think that would have been kind of nice. But then again, I don't know. I mean, to me, the remake as a whole kind of feels like part of Blizzard trying to save face, especially since even within Diablo, there's been a number of controversies. I mean, they've had controversies with every franchise they own. God bless Blizzard. Um, but but even with Diablo 3, like they came right out of the gate with the auction house. I don't know if you guys remember that, but there was like a whole auction house for items that defeated the entire purpose of trading and like, looting the things that you wanted to loot because you could just buy it from some schmuck for $50 and be set for your end game. And then with Diablo Immortal, how they were like, "Oh, we got a new Diablo game, but it's for mobile," and it's like, "You guys, goddamn kidding me? Like, who are you anymore, Blizzard?" So I feel like this is just a kind of a cash grabby, save facey way to get their hands back in the good graces of Diablo fans. And I mean, I'm gonna be kind of honest. Like, as much as I love Diablo 2, I'm not sitting here being like, "Oh, thank you, Blizzard, you're the best." No, you guys, yeah, you probably should have done this a long time ago, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's kind of like sad in a way because I feel like Blizzard could have picked up a lot more players back then if they would have remade this later because it would have fit back then. Nowadays, sort of like what Mike said, you have a lot more modern dungeon crawlers that have built upon what Blizzard did with Diablo 2 way back when, so everything is new and improved and plays for the modern age, and then you come out with this, a game that they sort of just slapped a fresh coat of paint on and went, here you go. So I feel like some people might have issues with that.
Yeah,
And
it sort of feels like a band-aid
yeah,
over a deep gashing wound.
so I don't know. I feel like players say that they want something and they eventually get it, and it's just not done the way it should have been done. And I feel like this was sort of put out to sort of hold people over until Diablo 4 comes out. Like, hey, here you go. Have this distraction to keep from our lack of really. I honestly don't know if they've done anything new with Diablo 3 since like 2015 or 2018 because that's when I basically stopped playing it. But
They've
yeah.
announced games that are taking them 60 years to make.
Yep.
I honestly think Blizzard really needs to. We're not gonna get into that. I'm just gonna hold my breath.
I was
I was
about to
gonna
say, I got opinions.
I was gonna say they really need to rethink their production time, but honestly, I think they need to rethink that company as a whole and treat their employees a hell, especially their female employees of color, just all their employees, a lot better. Treat them a lot better. Let's do better. That's the
Well
short
said.
version of it.
Well said indeed.
Yes,
Thank you.
well said.
That should be our show's catchphrase. Like, let's just do better. I should get that as a button.
Get it as a t-shirt.
Oh, we're making merch.
Yeah.
Oh
The
The first pre-review crew shirt. Let's just do better.
I mean, it works. Anyway, let's move on to October's games. So, again, let's talk about the month of October. It is spooky season, y'all. So, we got some scary games to talk about. But first of all, let's just say, again, it's the year of remakes and remasters. So we're going to kick it off with another one. We are talking about Alan Wake Remastered. It is finally here. We are all happy. I am happy. It's a horror game, so I'm going to watch somebody play it because I am a little small child when it comes to horror games. I get spooked very easily, but that is okay. At least my mom says it's okay. Shout out to my mom for being a real one. Anyway, it's a single player action adventure game. It's developed by Remedy Entertainment and it's published by Epic Games. It's coming out on PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X. And that releases on October 5th. Honestly, I think it should come out on Halloween, but that's just me.
That would have been a better marketing campaign. This, yeah, a lot of people have been waiting for this for a very long time. Just as long as they wanted part 2. But I mean, I played Alan Wake years ago when that mess came out originally, and I thought it was pretty good. So, just seeing that this get remastered, it's kind of like nostalgia factor. I kind of want to play it again. I want to get into it again just because I enjoyed it a lot back then.
So, like, I just have to ask with, the talk of remasters, is there any chance of this original game having any mechanics or anything that can seem dated nowadays?
I'm trying to think, this was a long time ago.
I mean, I'm only asking because, again, like what if it would have the same reception as something like, Diablo II Resurrected, where people are like, it's faithful to a fault. Like, I'm just afraid of that happening more so in the future. I mean, it's probably inherent to some remasters, depending on how old they are, but I feel like I just had to ask.
we might see that with this game because it looks a lot better visually. I watched the trailer. Um, I just don't know if they're doing actual like revamps of anything. Because it is just a remaster and not a remake. So I'm not really sure if they're gonna be doing all kinds of new things with this game.
So, sort of to answer that question, they have a FAQ on the Alan Wake website, and it says one of the questions is, have you changed some of the content in the remaster? It is the same game as before. The graphics have improved and the front end has been refreshed to look more modern. We feel the original game on PC because, to let you know, this is a remastered version of the original Alan Wake 2012 PC version.
Okay.
We feel the original game on the PC still looks good thanks to the excellent art and style of the game, but the upjump into resolution and frame rate definitely elevate the remastered experience. So it seems like they have kept the whole game the same and just redid the graphics. So, however this game was played before, it seems like you're still going to play it the original way it came out, however it was on PC.
Yeah, I played the Xbox version.
Okay, so it is just pretty much just like Alan Wake with a new coat of paint.
Yeah, basically, they break it down further and say what are the main technical features of Alan Wake Remastered. So you get remastered 4K graphics, at 60 frames per second, redone cinematic cutscenes with improved facial animation and lip sync, richer environment details, improved textures and additional geometry, enhanced character models with updated hair and skin shaders, improved visual effects and lighting. On the PS5 and Series X, that's going to be 60 frames per second in 4K. For PS4 Pro and Xbox One X, they offer 60 frame a second performance and 30 frames a second quality mode that is included in the day one patch. Now, this isn't going to support ray tracing or HDR, unfortunately. They stated that doing that would have been deemed too time consuming. They say that they are confident that the game looks great even without that. So, and there's some specific Ps5 features, so activity cards for tracking mission progression, trigger feedback is implemented, and vibration is also implemented. And then they talk about PC specs, graphics settings, going into how it takes advantage of the DualShock controller, advanced options, minimum PC specs, and then just sort of talks about gameplay. They stated specifically that they have not touched any of the gameplay. From the outset, we decided this is a remaster, not a remake. While there are some frustrations with the original game's gameplay, things like Alan often being out of breath while running, we feel these are part of the original Alan Wake experience and have not changed them. There are natural gameplay benefits from a smoother frame rate and higher resolution, as well as, for example, the improved rumble and haptics of the PS5 and Xbox Series X and S controllers that implement immersion. So, that answers your question. This is just another slap of fresh paint, and I'm deeming this just the year of not remakes, but remasters.
And like, I don't know, I feel like there's nothing inherently wrong with that. Like, I imagine, both you and Mike probably wouldn't mind, just a regular old remaster with a fresh coat of paint. And like, even looking at the website and going back and forth with their original console release versus the remastered, like the slider picture that they have, is just really cool. I really like seeing how old and kind of cruddy the old game looks versus like, wow, this new remaster looks really good. They got me with their marketing totally.
I sort of think that I agree. There's nothing wrong with just remastering a game. There's also nothing wrong with remaking a game, and I think some games should be remastered over remade and some games should be remade over remastered. I feel like it just depends on how your original game came out and how it was perceived by the public. If it was good back then just remaster it. A lot of people liked Alan Wake back then. That was it was a very popular game back then. I remember a lot of my friends talking about it when I was younger. My dad played it, I'm pretty sure. But honestly, I wouldn't know because this game came out like a bajillion years ago. So I'm excited to play it myself and experience it myself. And I like that they remastered it because, well, I get to experience the original game and what everybody was talking about. And it hasn't changed, so I can actually see if, it was good back then compared to what I've experienced now within the games that I played. So I'm excited for this.
Yeah, I'm excited too. This is another one. I don't know if I'll probably pick up eventually. I don't know if I'm gonna get it, release date. I'll probably wait for like Halloween and play it on Halloween. And yeah, this is something I know a lot of people have been clamoring for years now. Like since the PC, people have been wanting a part two, and I think this is gonna be, a good taste of, what was the game like originally. Um, but the main draw of this game was the story, which I think still holds up to this day. So if you want a really good, horror game with good solid storytelling, I really feel this is a game that you should pick up, even though it's 11 years old.
There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. Just to give some background, this is coming off of Wikipedia, so if you feel like taking this with a grain of salt, take it with a grain of salt. My English teacher always said don't use Wikipedia as a trusted source, but honestly, Wikipedia has never proved me wrong once. So originally when Alan Wake was released, it released the same week as Red Dead Redemption. Pretty bad on their part. They shouldn't have done that. Apparently, the first 2 weeks they only sold 145,000 units, while Red Dead Redemption sold 1.5 million within that same amount of time. But apparently, sales picked up more through word of mouth, and as the game came out, eventually they ended up selling 2 million copies on the PC and Xbox 360 in 2012. And in 2015 they sold over 4.5 million units. So obviously it picked up steam throughout the years. A lot of people started playing it. They wanted something different to play, and it sold a lot. Releasing the same week as Red Dead Redemption, I mean, nobody really thought that was gonna be as big as it was. So I get it, but it's great to see that it eventually went on to sell a lot of units. Apparently, it was also reported that Alan Wake is the second most illegally copied Xbox 360 game. And apparently, if it was pirated, your character wears an eye patch.
That's amazing. I love when games do that.
Yeah.
So it's great to hear. That's fantastic to hear. Also, just to let you know, Remedy made Alan Wake's American Nightmare, which was sort of a what do they call it? A bridge between season 1 and its DLC. But Remedy is also the makers of Quantum Break and Control. And there is a Control sequel coming out. So just saying.
Yeah, you're talking about it not selling well. I remember this being a cult hit when it first came out. It just steamrolled.
Yeah,
As the years went by.
That's what they said. It didn't do well within the first 2 weeks, but then it definitely picked up, and we can obviously see that with what they're saying throughout the years.
Yeah.
One thing I think is really cool is that they're saying that Control will be, it says Remedy stated that its next game following Control will be part of a Remedy connected universe shared by Alan Wake and Control. So we might not be getting an Alan Wake sequel or an Alan Wake 2, but if you play Control and the game coming after Control, we might see some of Alan Wake in that universe. Wow. My conspiracy theories are running high.
You got your tinfoil hat on right now?
Obviously. Also, when When Alan Wake came out, it sat at an 83 out of 100 on Metacritic for both the Xbox 360 and the PC version. So it did really well. That's great to hear because we like horror games. But
Yes, we do.
even though we are scared at some points, Brennan, we're going to play Alan Wake and make Brennan watch.
Okay, I'm down to a chair.
Please don't.
Anyway, talking about torturing people, we're going to kick it to Far Cry 6. Just to let you know, I want everybody to realize that Brennan spelled Far Cry Fary.
Did I?
Yes.
Damn. Yeah, I guess I did that too fast.
Ubisoft's newest game, Far Cry, comes out. It's a single player, multiplayer, and first person shooter. It's developed by Ubisoft Toronto and published by Ubisoft, so near and dear to our heart. It's coming out on PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X, and it releases just 2 days after Alan Wake. So maybe you're not in the mood for spooky season, but you are in the mood for I just want to shoot everybody season. In a video game, not IRL. FBI, don't come after me. This releases on.
Please don't.
Please don't. We don't need
Please
that.
don't.
Just don't. Just don't. It's a joke. It comes out on October 7th. So, like every Far Cry game, I should say. I don't really. I don't know.
So I've played 3, 4, and 5. And Far Cry just has its formula, I guess. And watching the trailers for this game, I was just like, this is Far Cry with a different story. Like, it just doesn't look too different. So it's kind of those things, like if you enjoyed Far Cry in the past, that this looks like one of those titles you'll probably enjoy now.
Yeah, I played Far Cry 3 when it came out, and I thought it was okay at the time. I didn't think it was like revolutionary or whatever. I played a little bit of 5 and I absolutely just did not like it at all. And I kind of envisioned 6 being like similar to 5 in that, there's just a ton of stuff to do on the map. There's just like a bunch of the Ubisoft like check marker open world design. And yeah, like Mike said, I'm just not really feeling this at all. Like, I haven't felt a Far Cry game in a while, and I don't think that this will change my opinion in any way, but I see it being as successful as something like the 5th one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you could play as a female in the last one. I don't think you could. I could be wrong though. But you can play as a male or female in this one. Also, you get a companion, and you can have a wiener dog or a crocodile.
There's a rooster too in there somewhere.
Jesus Lord. Who would have thought? A girl with some guns and her pet crocodile or rooster.
Yeah,
Legit
like,
to me.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely cool that they're adding the female character. They did that with Odyssey and the last Assassin's Creed game that I can't even think of the name of. Viking man or woman. Yeah, I mean, cool, but yeah, I don't know. But just take Far Cry for what it is, and I'm just like, I don't really. This is the series is a far cry, haha, from what it was originally. Like, Far Cry 2 wasn't this wacky, quirky, oh, let me take a crocodile with me game. It was like, no, man, you have a disease, and you have to go fix your disease before you die. It's not like Far Cry 3 where you're this rich, pompous asshole who gets marooned on an island and becomes a mass murdering villain overnight. Like, these games just are so tonally weird to me that I just don't understand them. Gameplay wise, they're fun. Like, obviously they pretty much kind of pioneered the whole like camp, take out the outpost sort of gameplay mechanic, which is fun. But I don't know, I've never been engrossed in the stories in these games at all. I never really cared about like the tone and the seriousness that they were trying to take while also balancing like just weird, wacky shit at the same time. It just felt so weird. That being said, though, if Far Cry 6 doesn't have the shovel from Far Cry 5, it's instantly a worse game.
Heard it here first. I think the one thing that really confuses me about at least this Far Cry and Far Cry 5 is very similar to what Brendan was saying. It's trying to tackle a serious topic in a strange way. Like, you talk about a fucking Midwestern cult in the last game, and now you're talking about a South American Mexican style country. Almost reminds me of like Cuba, for example, that is being run by a dictator that will literally do anything to get what he wants, which can be taken on, modern topics right now. And it's very similar to some things that are going on in some countries right now. But then you have a fucking pet alligator or a pet rooster that has beads on it.
Yeah, like I feel like Far Cry, especially when you were talking about the Midwestern cult in 5, that a lot of people were originally thinking that this was going to be some kind of political statement, some neo-American political statement that the Midwesterners and are all religious gun-toting weirdos. And that's what a lot of people thought it was going to be, but it ended up not really saying anything at all with that. And that was kind of a bummer to me. Like, I know a lot of people don't necessarily like politics entering their games, but get over it. That's kind of what politics are. They're going to seep into everything because that's how society works. So get over it. So I would have rather them lean into that, where instead I feel like they're almost just taking the same plot line, especially from 4. You're in this foreign country with a dictator, go topple it. And it's like, okay, I feel like we've done this before, but all right. And they're not really ultimately going to say anything with that at all, at least in my prediction, because they haven't in the past. They didn't even really say anything about the mass murdering freak from 3, that was never really touched upon. I mean, I guess it kind of was in some of the more evil endings, if you will, but again, I just feel like these games don't really say anything with the story that they're trying to portray, even though they can really heavily lean into rather political statements. There are countries overrun by dictators, and it's a very kind of serious problem in today's day and age. And here we are just making a game kind of making light of that. And it's like, I don't really buy that.
Yeah, I kind of sort of wish if you're going to take a serious topic or something as serious as this, tackle it in a serious way. If you aren't going to tackle it in a serious way, then just make it silly. Just be as goofy as you can with it. But if you're going to sit there and make something come off as if you're actually going to say a message behind it, like Far Cry 5, because all of the commercials just made this game seem like it was something it was not. Like, I thought Ubisoft was coming out and like actually saying something important, and they just didn't really do anything. And I'm just like, so then what was the point?
So we can have a rooster with fucking beads and shit.
I mean, yes, you're right. But they should have added that to Watchdogs Legion. That's just like Watchdogs Legion. You take a very serious topic, like in that game, and again, they didn't say anything about it. And I understand that that's just a setting, that's just a background, it's just a video game, but it's very strange to me how they're releasing these games in the climate, the political climate that they're releasing them in, and the parallels that are running between this game and when it comes out in this game and when it comes out, like when Far Cry 5 came out. We're equating that to the political climate of when that game came out, and then the latest Watch Dogs game and everything with Brexit, and then Far Cry 6 and the political climate that's going on now. Like, there's too many parallels for them to be releasing games like this and them just not say anything. And I agree with what Brennan said. If you're going to have politics in video games. It's going to happen somewhere down the line. And you have to get over that. You have to understand that politics is basically in everything. And if you can't deal with that, then why are you playing video games? To some degree, they're just going to be there. And you gotta deal with it. Be it behind the scenes with companies and developers and publishers and the way that the video game that you're playing is being made, or within the video game itself and the story and the narrative and the world that, you know, those writers and creators have built. Politics is in video games, politics is in movies and music and your job and the car that you drive and the clothes that you wear. They're everywhere. And you just need to get over it. And I kind of sort of wish that Ubisoft would pick one or the other. Pick if we're going to talk about it, or pick if we're not. And if you're not, then don't implement political-like topics within your game and then just not say shit.
Yeah, or make light of it in some capacity. Like
oh shit, what were those games? Were they called Mercenaries? Damn it, I can't remember. Where it was just they dropped you into a sandbox of, you know, this country that is under dictatorial rule, but they did it in such a goofy, funny way that, oh yeah, okay, and they just made the game fun. There was no statement. There was no, hey, this is what we're trying to say. It was just, no, here's some guns, go blow shit up.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, and not to say that every game has to have like a political beat you over the head statement, but I mean, yeah, it's going to seep into every piece of art possible. Like politically speaking, like it shapes the way that we live, and art is a reflection of that. I mean, yeah, sure, there are some games that are not meant to have politics at all, and that's completely fine. But I guess the problem that I'm hearing that we have is that it's used as this backdrop, and then nothing is done with it. And it's like there could just be so much more that's said, and it's just not, and or it's just kind of used as again, like a political backdrop, and then it's just like, all right, well, you could have done that anywhere else. Like, I will always hold Far Cry Blood Dragon very near and dear to my heart, because that game was just a complete parody of any action movie made in the 80s, and they went completely bonkers with it. And that's where, if that's the tone that they're going for, just lean into that tone and don't. But that game was also set in like a very cyberpunk 1980s action movie sci-fi setting where it kind of made sense that everything was campy and cheesy. But I don't see campy and cheesy in a dictator-run Cuba. You know what I mean? I see that as bleak and dark and honestly pretty scary. But no, let's just have a rooster be your companion. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't. It's just weird, man. I just don't like Far Cry anymore. I never really have.
Yeah, I enjoyed 4. I didn't like 5, but 4. All I know is this one better be like 4, and you better beat it in like 5 minutes.
Oh my god, yeah, I kind of really unironically love the fact that you can do that in 4. You can just sit there, and what is he? He's like, oh, just wait a couple minutes, and then you wait a couple minutes, and then he's like, all right, let's bury your mom's ashes. Game over.
Yeah, he gives you a gun. He's like, here, let's go see some shit, and then yeah. So Far Cry 6 better have that.
Well, I can tell you it does have licensed missions. Hey, there is a Danny. I'm gonna mess that up. He's a very famous actor. There's a Rambo mission and there is a Stranger Things mission. Why not? Just why not? Why not shove more media into a video game that doesn't need it? Anyway, I'll pick on Ubisoft later. Let's continue down the list while I sob, because Ubisoft just isn't what it once was. We are lastly going to talk about House of Ashes, back into the spooky season. So if Alan Wake didn't cut it for you, you're just like, fuck Far Cry, fuck Ubisoft. Give them the middle fingers, but you're like, I still need something to play. The pre-review crew, what do I play? we're going to tell you play House of Ashes. It's a single player survival horror game. If this doesn't get your blood boiling, I don't know what will. It's developed by Supermassive Games and published by Bandai Namco. It's coming out on PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X on October 22nd. Now, if you don't know, well, now you know. It is part of the Dark Pictures anthology series. So they did Jesus.
Man of Medan.
Yeah, they did Man of Medan, they did Little Hope. Little Hope literally made me I couldn't finish it. It was so scary. So here is a new one. I think I need a chart to like actually figure out like these games apparently are all connected in some way. I don't know how.
To be honest, this whole series, this whole Dark Pictures anthology, I don't buy them. I just watch people on Twitch and YouTube play them. Because just the way that the games are played and the way that they're presented, I feel these are really good games to just like sit back and watch other people play.
I don't have the patience for a game like this. Just because if you pick in this game, your choices matter. So it's a choices slash like quick time events type game, and I don't have patience for games like those because they end up being very, very long depending on how long the story is and what your choices are. And I hate going back and having to replay everything. So these are games that I just like to watch, but I have to admit that the Dark Pictures anthology series is actually pretty spooky. Like it can actually be scary, and I think that's great because the way that they these games come off are sort of like a movie. I agree with Mike, they're great. I prefer to watch them just because of that. And I think that's what also adds to the horror effect of the game and the jump scares effect of the game is because it's very similar to a movie. So, yeah, this is a game I just watch in the daylight because you don't know what's going to come up behind you. Not gonna lie, I just looked over my shoulder right now.
What does it say in PC? Don't look behind you.
Oh, Jesus Lord, I'm gonna die.
So, as someone that doesn't know anything about the Dark Picture anthology, can you give me the lowdown and anyone else that doesn't know about the Dark Picture anthology?
Have you ever watched? Oh, this is like old people thing I'm about to bring up. Have you ever watched Tales of the Crypt?
Vaguely. I don't think so.
Okay, yeah. For all you youngins who don't know, Tales of the Crypt was like I think it was either I think it was HBO, and it was a show where every episode was a different horror story. It was narrated by the same little monster dude, but it was always a different story. That's kind of what the Dark Pictures anthology is you have the same overarching narrator, and he's telling a different story each game.
Okay.
I think the games are connected in some sort of way. I just don't know how.
Right.
And there's a lot to them that you can unlock throughout depending on like the different choices that you make. So to give a little background on each game, the Man of Medan was about a group of people who go on a holiday diving trip and a storm comes in and basically fucks their shit up, and it's like a haunted ghost ship and people die. Well, of course. And Little Hope was about a group of college students and their teacher who have to take a detour through a town called Little Hope, and how they get stranded within the town, and the town is, I guess, haunted in a way. So it's you surviving this haunted town and its past. And then House of Ashes, it's turning out to be a military unit searching for chemical weapons unearthed something far deadlier in the Arabian desert. So I feel like they definitely pick scary, spooky settings.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is what the what was that movie franchise that like didn't come about? It had Tom Cruise in it. Like The Mummy was supposed to like be the jump off point, and they were supposed to remake like horror movies.
Oh shit, I know what you're talking about.
I feel
With
like this
Russell
is
Crowe.
yeah, like this
Uh,
is what that this is the video game version of that franchise.
yeah. Damn it, I can't remember the name of those movies. Oh well.
I honestly forget. But I'm mad that it didn't come to fruition because that could have been a very, very good series. But, you know, it's what happens when you try to do The Mummy with Tom Cruise and you turn it into an action movie. Wasn't it Brendan Fraser in The Mummy?
I just remember Russell Crowe being in it.
Brendan Fraser was in the original
Oh,
Mummy.
the
Yeah.
original.
Why the hell
Yeah, the
didn't we
original.
bring him back? That's a knee slapper. I don't understand. Bring him back. I want The Mummy remade with Brendan Fraser the right way. Fuck Tom
And The Rock.
Cruise.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I want the CGI rock in scorpion form.
Need that again. This time he has to be bald. And his big beefy muscles. But I want him in a car like Fast and the Furious.
Please,
So
no Fast
it's
and
it's
Furious,
it's The Rock
please.
CGI'd onto a car.
Crudely pasted, just his head.
Yes. God damn it. Anyway, we're getting off track. So yeah, so they're just quick time slash like actual kind of like, you know what they remind me of? Fuck. Goosebumps books.
Detroit. Oh,
Like the create your own horror story where it's like you read a chapter and then it's like, if you want to do this, go to this page. If you want to do that, go to that page. That's literally what these games are. It's a quick time event where your choices actually matter, and yes, you can die repeatedly. There's multiple endings. You have to replay it multiple times. I think that's one of the reasons why these games are so popular, is because the replay value is actually there. If you have multiple endings and they're all different and you can unlock different things throughout finding all those endings. So, and it's a horror game, which just makes it even better. It's coming out during spooky season. I say get it if you're into those type of games. If you're not, then just watch somebody play it. Save yourself. Do they charge a
Especially-
full $60 for these?
especially if you want something with a lot of replayability. I've watched different people play. What do you call it? Man of Medan and Little Hope, and the playthroughs that I saw, some of them were ridiculously different because these streamers all made severely different choices from the start. So you can get a lot of replayability out of these. Now, whether or not you want to sit there and redo a lot of things over is that's kind of the downfall of these. You can't do, like Haley said, it's like those Goosebump books where you can choose your chapter and you can cheat and read both chapters and then go which one you like.
Okay, hold on. Just give me 1 second. Hold on. I'm very curious. Okay, so here's a great thing. These games, $30.
Oh, it's not too bad.
So
Yeah.
if you want something to play, it's not going to break the budget because it's not $60, which I was going to say, if it's $60, that's a little crazy. But it's only $30. And guess what? If you're too big of a scaredy cat to play this game alone, you can play it online with a friend or offline with up to 5 friends. So y'all can get scared together.
I think it's like a pass the controller kind of thing where everybody gets a character and they just pass the controller every time a character comes up.
Which
If
that's
I'm correct.
if they do
100%.
it that way, which I don't know if they do, that's interesting because that then gives every character their own unique storyline. See? They're only charging $30 for this shit, yet damn, they could totally charge $60 if they wanted to. So, my recommendation, pick up House of Ashes. I think it's worth it, but we'll see how it does next month in our next episode of the pre-review crew. Now, before we go, we are going to briefly talk about 2 things that happened this month. The Sony conference and the Nintendo conference. And we're going to highlight 3 great things. To give a quick rundown, God of War, Bayonetta, and what's the last one?
The Mario movie.
I thought we were talking about another game.
Oh, Rune Factory 5.
That, and then the Mario movie. Great. Let's go down the list. God of War. I'm really excited for this game.
Yeah.
Wow, how dare you.
I knew that was gonna be her reaction.
How dare you? Two quick things to highlight. One, that they stated that shields are going to be implemented into God of War to give everyone a new, unique playstyle. Don't really agree with that, but at the same exact time, we'll see how it goes. I've never pictured one for Kratos to be on the defense. I've always been a very offensive Kratos. I just run in and attack everything. That's the reason why I still have not killed all the Valkyries. And then two, there was an article or Christopher Judd, who is the voice actor for Kratos. He stated in a tweet that, sorry, I'm trying to open it, that the game was delayed because of him, because he could not walk. He had both of his hips replaced and had knee surgery, so they waited for him to come out of rehab. That's one of the reasons why the game didn't release when it should have. I think it was slated to release last year. So, but it's great to see that Santa Monica Studios did that for such a beloved person, for the voice actor of Kratos, because honestly, you can't have God of War without Kratos, meaning you can't have Kratos without Christopher Judge. So shout out to the Santa Monica team for being real ones on that one. Two. Oh, Brennan, do you have anything to add to God of War?
Nope.
No support in this group chat for my baby daddy Kratos. Okay, moving on to game number 2 we're going to talk about is Bayonetta. For a second, I had to pause because I almost completely forgot. Bayonetta. B-A-E, Yanetta. If you know, now you know.
Probably my most anticipated games on the Switch. I loved 1 and 2. I've played 1 several times. Each time it came out to a new platform. And because I love games like Devil May Cry. I love games like God of War. So this one's right up my alley. I love the changes that they're making. I love the way she looks in this game. I thought they did a really good job with her new appearance. I'm kind of bummed that I believe the original voice actress isn't going to be in this. But you can just find somebody else with a British accent. And yeah, it just looks like a whole lot of fun again. Bayonetta never really takes itself seriously, which I love. So it's something that I really look forward to because it's always just fun and sometimes addictive gameplay.
Apparently, our Goth Mommy GF is now in Tokyo. We don't know why she's in Tokyo, but there are new gameplay elements like Demon Masquerade, where Bayonetta fuses with an infernal, Jesus Lord, I cannot read.
I was about to say, wait.
Infernal demon to wield even more formidable magic power, and Demon Slave, which lets Bayonetta control infernal demons who will obliterate their enemies. Now, we only have a release date of 2022, so
yeah.
Just gotta wait until next year. But the pictures that I am seeing of the gameplay, it looks visually intense. It's colorful and it's bloody, and Bayonetta is looking like a hot ass soccer mom with some damn good looking thighs. Love that woman. Brennan, how do you feel about our mom?
Cool. I have no opinion on Bayonetta at all.
How dare you? Our Lord and Savior Bayonetta will save us all. The next thing we are going to talk about is the game that Brennan wants to talk about.
Rune Factory 5, maybe. Yeah, I'm a big fan of the Rune Factory series. This was a very small thing in the Nintendo Direct, but we finally have a release date of March 2022. I actually don't remember off the top of my head, but regardless, it's coming out early 2022, and the reason is because originally in the Japanese version, they didn't have same-sex marriage. And for the first time in the series, the English team and the localization team have been working on rewriting the entire script and all of the cutscenes and all of the voiceovers to include same-sex marriage. So that's pretty damn cool in my book, and I'm really excited. This game came out a couple months ago in Japan. I don't know, it came out early spring in Japan too, so it's been a year almost. So yeah, I just really want to go back to farming and fighting monsters and stuff. I don't know. It's really cool. That's all I have to say.
So is that all you do?
It's all you need to do.
Wait, okay, so that's all you wait, okay. I don't know what Rune Factory is, so please explain Rune Factory to me
It,
in layman's terms.
it's anime Stardew Valley.
I am sold. Why has nobody told me about this earlier?
Exactly. It's wonderful.
Wow. Okay, when did Rune Factory 4 come out?
That's a good question.
2012.
Jesus.
So it's gonna be a full decade between games.
Is there any sort of like, do we know why?
No.
Because
I'm Googling this.
that's my answer.
I'm okay, hold on.
Yeah.
Okay. Source is Wikipedia, so take it with a grain of salt. After the success of Rune Factory 4, the series producer, won't say his name because I will butcher it, Hashimoto commented that development of a sequel was expected. However, Rune Factory's developer Neverland Co. declared bankruptcy in 2013, leaving the series' future uncertain. It was then announced in 2014 that Marvelous AQL hired former Rune Factory developers, including Hashimoto, to develop Lord of Magna Maiden's Heaven. And then in 18, Hashimoto left his executive officer role and opened Hakama, a new studio under Marvelous, where he went on to work on Rune Factory 4 Special and Rune Factory 5. And then the game was delayed in 2020. It released in Japan on May 20th, 2021, and is now releasing in North America on March 22nd, 2022, and on March 25th, 2022 in Europe. So seems like there was a massive delay just because of a series of unfortunate events, but at least Marvelous let the series producer build his own studio and still release something new. And being that he's behind it, I'm going to assume that it's definitely staying true to the past games within the series.
Based on trailers and what I've read so far, yes, it should. It's also taking a massive leap because it's going from originally like 3D models with 2D backgrounds to just going full 3D. So that's a really cool jump. I also didn't know that Rune Factory 4 came out in 2012. That's a really long time ago. I originally picked up the first game on DS back in 2006, and then I played Rune Factory 4 Special when it released on Switch. I don't remember when that happened. It was like a year or two ago. And yeah, these games have always held like at least the first one. It always held a very special place in my heart because I mean, back when I was a kid, to me again, it was just anime Harvest Moon, and so I really can't dislike that. That's my two favorite things put together.
The timeline is Japan released Rune Factory 4 released in Japan on July 2012, North America October 2013, and then everywhere else December 2014, and then Special was released on the Switch in Japan in July 2019, worldwide February 2020, and then it's also coming out on Rune Factory 4 is coming out on PS4, Xbox One, and Windows Q4 2021. So if you didn't play 4, you'll eventually be able to play 4 to get you set in time to play 5. I'm assuming these games aren't connected though.
No, no.
Okay. So if you just wanted to play 4 to experience what Rune Factory is like, to see if you might like 5, even though, like Brennan said, the art style is definitely going to be different, at least you get this other game to play before 5 comes out. Mike, do you have you played Rune Factory?
I have never played Rune Factory. I've seen a lot of it just over the years because I love Nintendo. So I would always see these games, trailers and stuff. But personally, I have not played a Rune Factory game.
Neither have I, but I guess we can play Anime Harvest Moon or Harvest Moon / Stardew Valley together. The world needs more farming simulators, and so does my stress levels. And lastly, we are going to kick it over to the one thing I didn't think I actually needed, and I'm still not sure if I actually need it. So I'm very uncertain on how I should feel, but we're going to talk about the Mario movie. I have one question for everybody here. Will you see this in theaters day one?
No,
Probably not.
I'm sorry.
Honestly,
It's just, I don't know. Just right now, just seeing the cast. These are actors I like on their own, but not in this.
how do we feel about Chris Pratt?
I gotta hear his Italian. Like Mario. Oh, I forgot the name of the guy who does Mario's voice normally. It's like just so iconic, when it's Mario. So it's kind of like bringing in Chris Pratt makes me really nervous, just because, like I said, I enjoy Chris Pratt in other movies he's done. Parks and Rec, he was amazing, but I really don't see him playing Mario. Maybe
Okay.
that's just me doubting him, but yeah.
I'll give a rundown of everyone in this. Chris Pratt is playing Mario. If you don't know him, he plays in Guardians of the Galaxy. Charlie Day as Luigi. He's in Parks and Rec. Anna Taylor
Oh,
Joy. What?
Charlie Day's Sunny Philadelphia.
Oh yeah, there we go. God, I always get those two confused. Thank you for fixing that. Anya Taylor Joy is Princess Peach, which she plays in the Queen's Gambit. I'm pretty sure that's her.
Yeah, that's her.
She's a very good actress, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Jack Black as Bowser. That's the only person I think that should really play Bowser.
I wanted Morgan Freeman. But anyway.
Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong. That's a choice. I don't know if that's a great choice or not, but that's a choice. Keegan Michael Key as Toad. That's the only person I ever want to play Toad, besides Elise from Funhouse. But if they picked anybody else to play Toad, I think I would have been very disappointed.
He can do goofy voices. I'm sure he can do Toad.
That man is very, very funny. I love him in Key and Peele.
Yeah.
Fred. Oh, I'm gonna butcher this guy's last name. Well, his first name's Fred. Armisen as Cranky Kong. I've never even heard of that character before. I'm not gonna lie. I don't even know what he's in. Kevin Michael.
Fred Armisen was Saturday Night Live and Portlandia.
There we go. Kevin Michael Richardson as, is it Kamek? He's the little guy on the broomstick.
Yeah.
I've only seen that guy in Super Mario, in like Mario Party. So I'm surprised that he's actually getting a voice actor and that he's relevant. Because I don't even know who that guy is. And then the last one is Sebastian Maniscalco.
Sebastian Maniscalco, baby.
There we
He's
go.
the best comedian ever.
And he's voicing Spike. Again, a character that I have never seen before.
He was in the he was in like the Wii U versions of Mario.
I'm at a complete loss of words for this entire thing. When they showed it in the direct and they were like, oh yeah, here's our cast, and then we're not gonna tell you anything about it. I was like, what the actual hell am I watching right now? Like this is bringing me Sonic vibes all over again, where people are just gonna shit completely all over it, and that'll be the end of it.
And I mean, here's my thing. If they gave those two side characters that I've honestly never heard of before a pretty good comedian and somebody else that I'm going to assume is pretty good, hopefully they actually get some lines and they're not just in there for 30 seconds and that's it. Because that's disappointing. According to Wikipedia, Charles Martinet is the voice actor for Mario and Luigi. He has been voicing Mario in the game series since the 1990s. It is listing him as cameo roles, so it seems like he might be doing background characters within the movie, which I kind of get, but also kind of don't. Like, why put him in the game at all, or in the movie at all?
Yeah.
And not to make this super long, but I spoke about this with my one friend Charlie over the weekend, because it was, why have the actual voice actor in there if you're going to have Chris Pratt as Mario's voice actor? And it's because, well, this is a movie, and I feel like they just wanted a They wanted Mario to be voice acted by somebody that the general public can relate to and that they know and that they think is funny. And people think Chris Pratt is funny.
See, every time you say Chris Pratt, I think of like Crispy Rat. You know what I mean? I can't hear his name anymore.
So yeah, so that's why I think they picked who they picked for Mario, is because people think he's funny. He was in Guardians of the Galaxy, which is a Marvel movie. Anybody associated with Marvel should bring in money, and the general, you know, he's a household name by now. So I sort of think that's the reason why.
I think for guys like me, it's just who grew up with Mario, who've been playing Mario for 30 years. We got opinions, and you know, that's kind of why we're kind of iffy on Chris Pratt. Now, if I was just a general person who never played Mario and only heard of it, and I see Chris Pratt, like you said, he's a household name now, I would be like, oh, Chris Pratt's in this movie, I'm gonna go see it.
I think this movie is going to do one of two things. One, it's going to do really, really well. Or two, it's going to be absolute dog shit, and it's going to go in the same bucket as almost every other video game related movie out there.
Hey, the original Mario Brothers is a classic. Don't talk shit about it.
I said almost every, not every. I said almost. There are little asterisks next to the ones that pass.
Assassin's Creed was a masterpiece.
I'm 50-50 on that movie. It should have got a fucking sequel though, I'm not gonna lie.
No, that movie's cool.
God damn it, shut up. I wanted a sequel, okay? I just wanted to see more like IRL stuff happening. Anyway, so yeah, so it's gonna do one of two things. We'll eventually see when it comes out. I mean, oh, Chris Pratt was in the Lego movie. If you ever watched that. And I really like the Lego movie, I'm not gonna lie. They did a great job with that. So we'll just have to see. I think I'll be the guinea pig and I'll go see it in theaters so that I can give my review on it. So you heard it here first. When this movie comes out, I'm gonna sacrifice my soul to the video game gods and see this goddamn movie in theaters. But anyway, that is the end of the September and October 2021 episode of the pre-review crew. We talked about a lot, we joked about a lot, we cried ourselves to sleep when the Mario movie was announced. We dissed on Ubisoft because they honestly just need to stick to making games at this point, and we realized that we're all babies when it comes to horror games, so we're going to end it with that. This is the pre-review crew signing off. I hope you have a great day, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, and I will see you back here with my band of bros for another episode next month. Stay good wherever you are. Goodbye.